On this program, we talk about gun violence in America a lot. We get reminders of the misery it can cause almost every day. We also lament how Washington has done next to nothing to deal with it. But today, the Supreme Court made a ruling that at least didn't make things worse. The justice has declined to take a case that challenges the federal law restricting the ownership of silencers. Right now, those devices are legal in the majority of states. In fact, the gunman in Virginia Beach who killed 12 people just a couple of weeks ago used a silencer. Now the Virginia governor would like to ban those devices in his state. I recently spoke about all of that and a lot more with the founder of Moms Demand Action. Her name is Shannon Watts. She's also the author of Fight Like a Mother, how a grassroots movement took on the gun lobby and why women will change the world. Shannon, like a lot of Americans, I was very down on prospects for gun safety legislation after 12 people were killed in Virginia Beach. You're not, and you tweeted out a reason why. You wrote, "Too many politicians said preventing gun violence was hopeless. They're wrong and their cynicism is dangerous. As legislative sessions come to a close, here's proof that we're winning and that Moms Demand volunteers' hard work is paying off." Why are you so optimistic? What is that proof you offer?
You know, we hear so much about how nothing is being done on this issue, and we know that's actually not true because we are doing the work, Moms Demand Action volunteers, every day on the ground to pass stronger gun laws state by state, lawmaker by lawmaker. And last year, for example, we passed stronger gun laws in 20 states, 9 of which were signed by Republican governors. So to say that because we haven't had this cathartic moment in Congress, we're not winning, really is unfair and doesn't give heed to all of the amazing work being done in state houses and boardrooms. And that's really how we make social change in this country. We build the momentum on the ground that will point Congress and the new president that we may have in 2020 in the right direction.
I sincerely hope you're right, but I also thought the same thing after Columbine and after Virginia Tech and after Newtown and Parkland and Las Vegas and so many others, all of which seem to shake the national conscience in ways that today's mass shootings just don't seem to. They're like a regular part of the news, and we seem to compartmentalize them and move on, including Virginia Beach. So why should we expect change now when it seems like America has almost gotten used to these headlines and these body counts?
Well, first of all, you know, it is certainly the mass shootings and the school shootings, but it's also the daily gun violence that kills 100 Americans, whether it's homicides in city centers or gun suicides in rural communities. All of it matters. We have to care about all of it. And when you look at the laws that we've passed since Sandy Hook, which frankly, we didn't have a nationwide grassroots movement before 2012, we have strengthened the background check loophole by closing it and requiring a background check on every gun sale in 20 states. We have disarmed domestic abusers in 28 states. We've passed red flags in 15 states. All of these work. All of these are saving lives, but ultimately, guns cross state lines as easily as cars do. So we really do need Congress to act. We have been playing defense at a federal level. The NRA's priority legislation didn't pass with a Republican Congress and president, but we do need them to be proactive and pass these life-saving laws.
When you check the list of top voting issues for 2020, guns are certainly on that list. But I'm always leery when I see that on a list of issues because historically, gun safety and gun control aren't really voting issues, certainly not as much as they are for the Second Amendment pro-gun crowd. A lot of people say they want gun safety laws, but it doesn't seem to be what drives their votes. Why will or won't that be the case in 2020?
That's actually changing. So guns was considered the third rail of American politics for many years. And then we saw in Virginia in 2017, when we flipped the makeup of the state legislature, that this was one of the top 3 issues as to voters as they went into the polls, that they wanted to vote for gun safety. And then in the midterm elections, our organization actually outspent and outmaneuvered the NRA. We were able to elect over 1,000 gun sense candidates, including my former colleague Lucy McBath, who is now a congresswoman from Georgia. And we flipped the makeup of 7 state legislatures. We've already gone into those state legislatures and passed stronger gun laws in many of them. So we are seeing this become more important to voters. It took us building this nationwide grassroots movement to make that happen, but it is happening. And if we look at the 2020 election, we see voters saying, at least on the Democratic side, this is the 3rd most important issue to them.
You mentioned some of the actions that Moms Demand has taken on the individual state level, and There is a disparity between the fights right now on the national level and on the state level, because it seems like we've got two different Americas, as you hinted at, when it comes to guns. Blue states passing more gun control. Red states seem to be making it easier to get them. You mentioned this earlier, but how dangerous is that schism in the two different Americas when it comes to guns?
This is, if you look at the polling data, this is actually not a polarizing issue. 90% of Americans support stronger gun laws. 80% of gun owners, only 1 in 10 of whom belong to the NRA. 74% of NRA members support stronger gun laws, like a background check on every gun sale. And that's why we've been able to go into states like Kansas and support or pass a domestic gun violence law. It's why we stopped the NRA's agenda this year in states like Arkansas. We are seeing this become more of a bipartisan issue. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the NRA is weaker than they've ever been. They're under investigation for a variety of issues. We are stronger than we've ever been. We actually tripled in size after the Parkland shooting tragedy. And going into 2020, the NRA really has its hands tied behind its back.
The gunman in Virginia Beach used a silencer or a suppressor, and that led to me doing some research on gun accessories. I thought that silencers were illegal, and as it turns out, 42 states allow silencers. Body armor is legal in every state. Armor-piercing ammunition is legal in 30 states. Exploding ammunition is legal in 42 states. High-capacity magazines are also legal in 42 states. Hard to come up with a defensive rationale really for any of those, yet they're widely legal. Does that shake your optimism at all?
No, I mean, they have been legal for a long time. Now we have to go into these states, and that's what we're doing. We are successfully passing laws that actually limit high-capacity magazines. The Virginia governor has just called a special session where he will bring up some of these issues and will at least get lawmakers on the record about how they're voting. But silencers are a cash cow for gun manufacturers. It's why they tried to deregulate them several times at a federal level. They failed every time. High-capacity magazines, we see data that shows us that states that limit high-capacity magazines have half as many mass shootings. So we know that stronger gun laws work. We just need to get lawmakers to pass these laws. And look, that is a marathon, not a sprint. It is going to take several election cycles to get to where we need to be, but we have made significant progress.
Finally, Shannon, I want to ask you about the Democrats running for president in 2020. Most, if not all, support some form of gun control or gun safety laws. To your mind and to the mind of voters, is there a real significant difference that you've seen in their gun positions, or are they all basically variations on the same theme?
Well, that's what's so interesting. It's really a sea change in American politics. Not only is every single Democrat supportive of stronger gun laws, so is the only Republican so far to primary the president. And to see all of these candidates competing to see who can be the best on this issue is a win for the American public. We've seen 4 or 5 of the candidates come out with very innovative gun policies. We have something called a gun sense questionnaire that we are handing out, and that will determine whether someone is a gun sense candidate. We've just handed them out to the presidential candidates, and when that data comes back, it will help us determine if they get this distinction, and then eventually if they get our endorsement.
Shannon Watts is the founder of Mom's Demand. She is also the author of Fight Like a Mother. Shannon, thank you for a few minutes and good luck with your fight.
Thank you.
And up next, several groups are suing the government over its attempts to roll back protections for the LGBTQ community. After the break, I'll speak with one of the lead groups suing over a ruling that could lead to discrimination when it comes to health care.